They haven't said it yet, but the clues are all there as the 2C market is appearing to dry up. There have been quotes circulating in recent days and weeks that highlight one particular move that Montreal and even Ken Hughes has said is not an impossibility heading into this season. We have to discuss the odds of Demidov taking over a surprising new role with the Montreal Canadiens, but it's not just that. We have to dive into some very interesting tweets about another 2C solution that comes from the LA Kings, and finally, The Athletic has been doing their writer polls, and the Montreal Canadiens show up in more ways than one. A bunch of great stuff on this episode of Habs Digest. But hey, quick reminder to hit that free subscribe button, because you guys know we're here literally every single day in the offseason. Even if the news isn't coming out all the time, we always have something for you. So if you want to stay up to date, hit that button. Just on stuff like this, Jesse, The Athletic, they were doing a bunch of polls, and oh my goodness, I'll link this down below. There's been a lot of love getting shown to the Montreal Canadiens recently, and I wanted to start with this. Someone voted them as a dark horse cup contender. Right there, same amount of people voted the Kings and Senators. Yeah. But also, in general, 69.6% of the people that they polled had Montreal in a playoff spot. That's higher than the Rangers, much higher than the Senators, right up there with the likes of New Jersey, Washington, Toronto. I love that the narrative is shifting. Some people aren't so sure, but it sure seems like, Jesse, a lot of the people at The Athletic are pretty sold on this version of our team.
Oh, and from The Athletic, no doubt, Josh. Like, I'm just so excited, surprised, but, you know, it kind of feels right, Josh, but it's obviously, like, phenomenal to look the amount of respect that this Montreal Canadiens team has received in the turnaround of the optics of this team in just 1 year. Really, it's just showing, right, like, how the future is so bright. And it is only right, Josh, because the Habs are totally building something special right now. Everybody can see it. But we know it's something really special, Josh. Like, it's one thing when your management goes out and develops and drafts the team well and makes some good trades, I think would be fair to say as well. But it's a completely other thing when, like, your team then comes, like, that young team, and takes ownership and then decides, we're going to get to the playoffs ahead of time. And because of that, we're going to help further develop some of our key players and give them that key experience in the playoffs that they need just to be even better next year. Like, that's when everything kind of comes together, like management and the players, to really get the team to where it needs to be. So that's why there's something kind of special kind of in the works here for this team going on right now, and why we're just so excited and amazing to see them getting that respect and having, you know, that they're in the playoffs among many analysts around the league right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, you look at the team last year, the advanced analytics. I know there's some discussion today on how the Habs advanced analytics last year were not great, and they could be in for a regression. I don't think so. I think the thing you can't quantify is the absolute leap that guys like Hutson, Demidov, even Slav could take this coming season. So looking at this roster, by the way, Habs Digest, copyright, trademark, everything you want to do. Look, take a look at this. It looks pretty nice, doesn't it? We'll be coming out with new graphics like that soon, all for you guys. But some wonderful stuff going on with Montreal. Ton of respect from The Athletic, and we're actually going to reveal a couple other things they had to say, but that comes a bit later in the video when we talk about Demidov, our boy Demigod, because that's actually the video I'm excited to talk about this, because it's something that we talked about a while ago, but is resurfacing now. But before we get to that, I wanted to dive into an exchange that I saw on Twitter earlier, and how it's gotten me thinking. Look, by the way, this is not just something we saw there. We've seen you guys saying this in the comment sections, in the live streams, everywhere, about a certain player on the LA Kings, a former Hab in Phillip Danault, and this is just an exchange between Marc-Olivier Baudouin and Dennis Pettigrew on Twitter. Said Habs should try and have Danault back. I think the most badly need an experienced left-hand center, good on the face-off and PK. He'd be the perfect veteran 2C to back-check with Demidov and Laine Bolduc. Fair enough. And Marc-Olivier Baudouin said, look, I don't know if he would accept to come back to Montreal. I don't know if the Kings would be open to trade him because they're in a win-now mode, but it would be a great, solid addition to our forward core. And I completely agree. Now, again, the odds that the Kings move on from him, Jesse, we don't really know at this point, but we do know that they're due to pay Adrian Kempe very soon. Don't know if Danault would be available this year, but it wouldn't shock me if he was available at some point in the near future. Look, I mean, the numbers, again, don't never jump off the page with you, Phil Danault. 8 goals, it's not really what you want to see from a 2C, but in terms of fit on this team, I don't know, you know, he did leave the team under questionable circumstances, I suppose, but he's a name that keeps coming up that Habs fans absolutely want. I mean, he'd bring a lot of balance to this forward core. I mean, what are your thoughts on even kicking the tires on a guy like him?
Josh, you're tugging at my heartstrings with this one. It's a player that I love for a long time, just plays the game the right way, obviously brings that effort every night as well. You got to just love players like that, you know, salt of the earth type of player, and Phil Danault is. Obviously, Habs fans love him as well. I think the key point you had mentioned too, though, is just that 8 goals is not quite that goal scoring production that we're looking for from a 2C. That being said, still 43 points. And if you look, like, he's cracked into like that 50 plus range, which is typically for a 2C, you want that 50 to 60. Ideally, you know, so it's like, it's not like he's completely off the radar when it comes to this. And then when you factor in that he played that defensive game, it's an intriguing type of conversation. I think Ken Hughes has to definitely give some thought to. I think eventually at the end of that thought process, he just comes to the realization that at 32 years of age, that Phil Danault's production is probably going to start going down. Although we see some players still producing later on. I don't want to rule that out completely. I think that that is probably the greater likelihood in this situation, just seeing where kind of his points have been tracking over the recent years here. Again, interesting player, plays that complete game. Just don't know if that would be like the fit, although I do really like the player.
Yeah, like I think he'd fit in the forward court. I don't think there's any doubt like he wouldn't get playing time or anything. But again, it's just like it feels like he's on the wrong end of 30. It would probably cost too much to pry him away from LA if they were ever even open to moving him, because they're in win now mode and he's such a perfect player to have in a playoff run. A guy that's been over 50% on the faceoff dot forever, it seems. Again, 52 or 53% this year. He was 55 at Montreal a few years ago. Like, yeah, it would be great. It'd be similar to having Dvorak, who just gets some more points and is better on the PK. But like, yeah, I don't know. What do you guys
Don't
think?
say that, Josh.
No. He's better. He's better in every way, basically, right? But you know what I mean? Like that kind of style we lost maybe to get him back. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think about Phil Danault? Do you think it's possible? And if it is, would you go for it? Or do you kind of think, maybe we should go for someone else? We'd love to hear from you. And that's someone else, Jesse. That's been a point of contention a bit recently, because who is it going to be?
Who is it?
Who is it? Because the free agent market this year was pretty bad, and we knew Montreal didn't really want to go free agency. We heard our front office say, look, it's going to be a trade. It's always is going to be a trade for a 2C. Next year's free agency class as well doesn't look that great, other than like McDavid and like a couple other guys that are almost certainly going to be extended. So you're really looking at who's available for trade, and you really don't know, right? So many of these guys aren't available. And when you're looking at the roster right now, yeah, you have Dach and Newhook, which people aren't thrilled about. There's one name that has played some center, and it is Zach Bolduc, but there's another guy, actually. So there's two names, and one is Ivan Demidov. And I want to just highlight some stuff, because this has come up a lot recently. Demidov did play a bit of center before, and he talked about it before, saying, yeah, you know what, I could probably see myself doing it. But now that the 2C is still uncertain, we're not so sold on Dach. We're starting to see, what about mid-season? Something that we could change this year. And again, the hints are there. We saw Eric Engels on the Sick podcast just about a week ago. I'm more compelled by the idea, maybe even more recently, the idea of Demidov playing center. When I watched Demidov play, he plays like a center. And a couple weeks ago, Ken Hughes was asked about Demidov playing center. He said, do you think it's a possibility? And he said, I think anything's a possibility. You know, people texting me about Bolduc too, and he's played center. And so it's really interesting, Jesse, that like, no one's saying no, right? Now, they are saying they don't want to put too much pressure on a guy coming over from Russia. He's played 2 regular season games plus the 5 playoff games. But, like, this doesn't seem like an impossibility, right? This is something that I actually wouldn't necessarily be shocked to see this year. Maybe see a couple guys rotate that center position. I don't know if it's going to happen soon, but the hints all seem to be there that this might just be a guy that could do this in the future.
You got to try Demidov at center, because if it turns out well, at least we're trying experimenting with practice, because the upside of having somebody like Demidov with that amount of skill, his mobility on the ice, like, it just would be phenomenal for this team. It just would kind of extend his range and the amount of effect that he could really have on this team. And again, some people, I think that that's more of like a plan B than a plan A, and Ken's still looking to cook through this offseason. But what's so great is this hybrid approach where we definitely have some options, and dare I say, like, some pretty good ones. Like, that's just the thing about this Habs teams. Like, the good times just really keep rolling right now. Now, Eric Engels did mention that he didn't believe that Bolduc would play center, or Marinero. I disagree with both of them. I think that Bolduc could very much play center. We see that Kent Hughes very much agrees there's a possibility that Bolduc could play center there. And I think like the more of his physical way of playing, I think could be even potentially stylistically even more suited than Demidov for really playing that center type of position. That being said, what's the most important in all of this, what you know is at the top of Kent Hughes' mastermind and all of this, is what is the best for Demidov's development long term?
Yeah.
We know Kent Hughes is all about the long term. It's about the development. And we don't want to kind of sacrifice that either. You don't want to be spending kind of too much time trying to, confuse him with different positions. It's better to kind of focus early on what we want to establish, do a little bit of experimentation, but I think early on we kind of need to define some roles, not cast it in stone right away, but I think take some actionable goals on something specific instead of kind of always leaving them kind of in limbo. We need to decide, but once we do, we need to kind of be decisive from there, kind of going forward. Like, Josh, I'm curious to hear your thoughts, and also from our fans below, like our viewers, like let us know, like who would you try more at center first, like at 2C, if you had to kind of try and experiment with one of these players? Would it be Demidov or would it be Zachary Bolduc? We're really curious to hear.
Oh boy, I think my gut reaction is, I think probably Bolduc, because, but even then, like we've heard, like we know he has played center in junior, but recent things have come out, like Simon Gagne has said, like Bolduc didn't actually play as much as a lot of us thought he played center in junior. Because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch every Zachary Bolduc junior game. Sorry, but you know, he did play some, but not as much as we thought. Same thing with Demidov, like he hasn't played it in a while, but he played it when he was younger. I think Bolduc at least has a little more experience. Like, he kind of came into the league as a guy that we thought maybe could play center, whereas Demidov's more of a pure winger. Even though Demidov maybe plays more like a center, I think Bolduc's play style might work a bit better. And again, hey, like he works well down the middle of the ice. I mean, not to say playing the bumper on the PP means you're going to be a good center, but hey, he's pretty good from there. But you know what I mean, right? So it's really interesting. I would probably say Bolduc, but we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Jesse, do you have one over the other? I think yours is probably Bolduc too, yeah?
Oh, Bulldog, yeah, for sure. And it's not that Demidov can't play well, but I think just Demidov just allowed him to be really effective. That goal scoring, focus on that side of the game where Bulldog's going to contribute a little bit more defensively. Play to Demidov's strengths, but the fact that Bulldog likes to get in the mix of it, he might not be as involved in that forecheck, which is the big reason why they got Bulldog kind of that F1 playing center. He's going to need to help out a little bit more defensively there. He's still going to contribute. I think just somebody that likes to be in the mix of the game. That's what I get from Bolduc is like, he likes to get a note, be around with the puck, be all over the ice. And what more kind of defines that than a center? So I think it makes a lot of sense that they want to experiment with both players. I still definitely want to see them try, but I think let Demidov do what he does best and let Bolduc kind of get his nose dirty a little bit and kind of finish off where he can as well.
I agree. I think it's going to be really interesting, though. We'd love to hear your thoughts down below. I know some of you think maybe Slav could look at center in the future. Who knows, right? There's a lot of opportunities this year. That center position, if we don't bring someone in, someone internally might just have to go and take it, and it wouldn't shock me to see a bit of a surprising name go steal it. But leave your thoughts on all that down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, just leave a like on the video. Thank you so much for tuning in every single day, showing us the love every day. We really, really appreciate it. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.